Hi, Catherine. You okay?
Hello, yeah, I'm very well, thank you. Is everybody happy for me to crack on?
Yeah, please do, Catherine. Thank you. Yeah.
Lovely, excellent. Darren, good to catch up with you. A couple of weeks then for you to maybe take a breath and actually get out on the training pitches with the squad. How useful have you found this international break?
Yeah, no, really useful for me and the staff to have the ability to work with the players on the grass. There's nothing probably better really in terms of having come in and sort of in the 2 weeks we was here previous and having to navigate the 4 games was meant less contact time on the grass. So to have the international break, we saw it as an opportunity to do a bit of work and take advantage of not having a game at the weekend to prepare for and really working with the players. And we've been happy with the work and the temperament and what the players have shown us over the past 10 or 12 days as we lead into this game.
What are some of the key things that you've been looking at during that period then?
The ability of the boys, testing them more, putting them in more difficult situations where we're asking of their ability, but also asking of their mentality, their mental approach to take the game on and almost be like almost independent thinkers as well as just going and doing the session, but almost thinking their way through the session and what do we want from it really. So it's been asking them questions as a group, but individually as well really. And as I said to you before, Catherine, remember when I first come here, I said I'm never going to put a ceiling on this team. There's no really rooftop on them. I just want to see where they can go, and I still think we're still in that mode in terms of where they're going to go, because in terms of where we're pushing them, it's not an on and off switch where you're going to see that straight away. So as the days and weeks go by, we keep pushing them and maximising what we believe the ability they've got within.
It's really interesting to hear you talk about the aptitude of different players. I'm sure everyone's different. There will be some players who can be proactive, can immediately take new ideas on board and deliver it straight away. For others, that might come slightly more difficult. For those players, how do you go about bringing out the best in them if it doesn't necessarily come quite so naturally?
And it's a great question, Catherine, because you are right. As a group of players, and naturally we all learn differently. So over the last 10 or 12 days, it's finding that out as well in terms of how some players learn visually, some players learn by physically doing it on the training ground. There's been all sorts of course of learning environments, from collectively as a group and individually and personally in classrooms, as well as working personally on 1v1s. So what you try and do is you try and implement as much learning practices and different scenarios in making sure that the group, even learning from an interactional point of view in terms of asking questions and then posing back the answers what they want to give, gives you an insight into the individual and the group collectively. Because what we encourage here is for the group to be open and to talk. We don't really suppress people. We want to talk, so it's a two-way thing in terms of you communicating to the players, but it's not one directional. You're putting the practice on, but it's what they're gaining and what they're getting back from it and the feedback, because they can give you just as much feedback as you want to give them. The biggest thing for me is everybody being on the same continuous page, progressing and moving forward together as one. And that's always what we've wanted to do. And sort of coming in at this stage of the season, there's going to be elements of that going forward. So it's still continuous developing, but in terms of initially the first thoughts over these few days of the international breaks, we felt here we've had a good week.
We've just been talking to Sorba Thomas, and you talk about temperament and sussing players out and what makes them tick. We were asking him about that. He says he doesn't like being shouted at, for starters. He also says he's had some really interesting conversations with you, and it is very much two-way conversation. He also admitted he's not always the easiest to manage. When you have somebody like Sorba who very much wears their heart on their sleeve, do you kind of have to suss out, right, what is going to bring the best out of this clearly very talented player?
Well, first things first, Catherine, thank Sorba for his honesty. I mean, when all those what you've just sort of come back to me, his honesty in terms of where he's at as an individual and collectively as a team player is there for all to see. But underlying it all, with Sorba, just like all the players, he wants the best for the team in terms of going forward. And that's something that, myself and Sorba as an individual has had some good time talking together on one-on-one and collectively as a group, as is other players. Have had that opportunity with them and I've presented that. But I've wanted that as well, Catherine, in terms of that, because I've wanted as much contact time with them as I possibly can and will continue to do so. Sorba being Sorba, the one underlying thing is he wants to be better for the team and for the football club. And I think anybody listening to this cannot commend him really on expressing that. But we know the bottom line, he does want to do it. So for Sorba and me, for me and the staff, the challenge is there to increase and get him better than where he's at, because that's our job, is to do that with him, and that's what we'll continue to do with him. But he's certainly one individual, because we've mentioned his name, that certainly has had a real good week and an impact. And for Sorba, there's so much more that he wants to do. He wants to build his consistency. He wants to keep performing at a level, because he's got aspirations, not just here for Huddersfield Town Football Club, but internationally as well. He wants to get back into that. And by doing that, he's got to play consistent football for Huddersfield Town and play consistently well for Huddersfield Town. And by doing that, I'm sure that the opportunity for him to get back into that international reckoning will come, really. So we've got some work to do, but it's good to hear him say that.
Yeah, he's sort of echoed that as well, that he knows that it's only by performing well consistently for Huddersfield Town that he will hopefully regain his place back in the Wales squad. Obviously, it's difficult for him when he's been left out. So have you had to maybe put a bit of an arm around him over these last 10 days when clearly, he must be feeling a bit down in the dumps that he's not away on international duty?
Yeah, and that's the thing. We've touched base on it. I know his aspirations. And he's got a manager here that supports those aspirations. We're on the same page in terms of working together and trying to work at a level that would get him back into that international reckoning. The door's not very much closed on him. There's still plenty of football to play, and we know he's got the ability to do it. So we can't cry over spilt milk in terms of that he wasn't on the international, but what we can do is in between is the first things first, is looking at us as a football club, the league programme in terms of what he's got and him maximising that potential. But the biggest key word will be for Sorba is that consistency, to be able to continue to perform at a level week in, week out. And he realises that because he's got that burning desire. And once a player's got that burning desire, we'll support him every step of the way for doing that, and we'll continue to do that. So it's great to hear, and as I said, for him, he's been a joy to work with this week.
Do you know now in your own mind where his best position is for you on the pitch?
Yeah, I know the best position for, I'd say, the majority of the team. I know their best position. What I've always done, Catherine, over my career, and will continue doing it, is that because football is unforeseen, when games come and everything else, you've got to be prepared and adaptable to any situation. So a lot of my players over the course of not just here, of my managerial career, has had their primary position, but they've had a second or third position what they can play, and they have played it. And what we do with those positions, we've worked on them already before they had. So even though it might become a surprise to one or two, those players have already been utilised and adapted in those positions already. And that's the way it is. And the reason why I do it for is because football can throw some hurdles at you, unforeseen and unexpected, and you've got to be calm in the situation and be adjustable to that situation or proactive to that situation.
Really back at it this weekend then, at the start of what's going to be another really busy and a big week. Do you see this as being quite an important week going forwards, with a home game to kick you off and then another home game against Cardiff, and then of course the West Yorkshire derby next weekend could be quite pivotal to the season?
Yeah, we see every game as it's an important week, of course we do, and irrespective of what game, I'll be saying it's an important week next week. Every game I'll be saying it, because what I do as a manager is I just focus on the game, and all I'm just focusing on is the game on Saturday, irrespective of the game on Tuesday and irrespective of the game the following Saturday. For me, my professional approach will be just to focus on the game on Tuesday, and such as the players. on Saturday, and such as the players. So we'll just focus on that for this Saturday and making sure that we are giving a real good account of ourselves, that we really continue to build on terms of what we're setting here, and carry that momentum into on Saturday. The thing what we want to do at this football club is continuing to develop and continuing to move the team forward. I said there's no ceiling on the players, and I mean there's no ceiling on us as a football team and a football club this season. Let's just max out and be the best we can at every opportunity given.
It might sound a bit ruthless, but QPR are not having a great season so far. Do you have to look at them as being a great opportunity to pick up 3 points against a team who have struggled recently?
Every time, Catherine, we play, the preparation is exactly the same, irrespective of the team, whether they deem them at the top of the table or the team at the bottom. We don't take anything for granted. We prepare as meticulous as we possibly can for every game, and that will be our approach. I've never deviated away from it, irrespective of the team position of any team. They come with the respect that they need. We need to show them, but also we look at it as an opportunity that there's 3 points up for grabs and we're competitive for them. And honestly, Catherine, that goes for every single game we approach, because I don't think you can put a colour on them or a mental approach in terms of the positioning. Even though they are in the position that they are, we'll still prepare as physically and mentally as best as it possibly can in preparation for this game. We're at home, we're in front of our home fans, we're delighted to be back at home again. And I must say that the atmosphere that we did have against Ipswich was electric. It really was electric, and I commend all the fans that came there, and let's see if we can get them decibels higher again for this Saturday.
One last one, team news wise, how are you looking? Have you got anybody back who has been able to recover during the international break?
Yeah, no, in terms of David and Wardy making some wonderful progress, excellent progress. We don't think that they'll be quite ready yet, but they're making some great strides, which is great to hear and great to see, because those two would be welcome additions back into the squad. Pleased to see obviously Yuta come back off international duty, and he's done well really, so we're really pleased to have him back in. And apart from over these next 24 hours, hopefully everybody will be okay and report well for the game tomorrow.
Just quickly with regard to Danny Ward then, David Kusumu, have you got a timescale yet when they might be back, or is it sort of sooner rather than later?
Yeah, I hope so. Without me putting the time scale so everybody's got it on their heads, they're certainly looking to get back on the grass. And once they get back on the grass, that's always a positive sign. And they're both into those latter parts in their rehabilitation, getting back, which is great news.
Thank you very much. Good luck this weekend.
Good to see you, Kathleen. Thank you.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Catherine. Come to Stephen Chicken in the room.
Hi, Darren. Staying on injury news, how is Josh Ruffles with his groin? Is that any better?
Yeah, so Josh has been getting. There's nothing outstanding with Josh. What we just had to do is just settle down the ligament in there, and all we just thought with Josh is, can we settle it down in time? So he's been in with the medicals. So though it's physically not damaging to him, he's got full range in it. It's more of a soreness with Josh Ruffles, really.
Right. Is he going to be all right for the weekend, though? Is it
50-50, Steve.
Okay. Have you had any new issues at all over the break, or?
Not that we know of at the moment, no.
That's good news. I mean, and we've heard that Ollie Turton as well has kicked a ball for the first time, hasn't it?
And Ollie Turton's, he's been kicking the ball as well, which is really, really good. So that's been good. Apart from, Pat Jones come back from international with real soreness, so he won't be available for the game. Yes, sorry, Steve.
Yeah, no problem. Is he someone that you're quite an exciting talent, but I know that the injuries you have to manage him a bit, so it's a shame, isn't it?
It's a real shame because he's definitely one. Steve, that I'm really looking forward to. I've seen a glimpse of him in training, Steve, and what I saw from him was exceptional, really, and it whets my appetite with him to see what he can do in the first team in a game situation, but he's definitely got something to offer us, because what he did at the time in training, what I saw was outstanding, really. So that's a bit of a shame, because I was really looking forward to him coming back, but he's come back with a little bit of a muscle injury, so he won't be considered.
Okay. We have seen you've involved some of the B team players in your training over the past couple of weeks. Any positive surprises, or anyone that has caught your eye in particular?
Yeah, so with all those, what you deem the B team, I'm sort of getting used to the structure what was here before with the B team players. They're part of the first team now, and what we're doing, Steve, with them is, and the players understand is, we're, use the term, squeezing every pip out of them, really, in terms of where we need them to be at and where they want to be at. So we've been working extremely hard with them, and they've responded very, very well, really, as a group. So that's been really pleasing to see. I keep saying that the real positive I've got with them is they're such an honest group, and they are definitely receptive to what's going on. So the work that they've put in over this week has been good. The work that they put in is, we have to allow the work to sort of settle in them and get into them from a physical and a mental point of view. But certainly as a group, and that in terms of where they are, they're expected to step up, and we want them to step into the situation. I've had some wonderful talks with them all, individually and collectively, and they're part of the group, and they're very important for us now and for the future.
We've seen over the past year or so Tom Pender as one of the sort of the key players in that setup, and he's got a new contract. Is what's his sort of potential? How close is he to your thoughts?
Yeah, no, he's very. I like what I see with Tom. Really good feet, great feet, wonderful technician, a great size. I think I'm talking about Tom, but I could talk about others like him as well. But for Huddersfield Town Football Club, it's wonderful to have Tom signed on board, and we've got him in and around the first team. If anything with Tom, it's just now he's making that transition now into first team. So when I say the transition is, the first team players move the ball quickly. The gaps and spaces that Tom once saw in the B team are not there in the first team. The speed and precision and detail of his passes are there. He's just got to be more accurate and more powerful with them. All those aspects of his game, Steve, he'll get with us by just training with the first team players. So it's how long's a piece of string for Tom in terms of his development, because from a mental point of view and a physical point of view, by being in the environment, it's how quickly he can get up to that level. And obviously, because we've got eyes on him, monitoring him every single day, we'll see those aspects. There'll be bits to his game that are very, very good. There's bits to his game that he's got to improve on, that he'll understand. But he seems a real bright boy, and I'm really, really pleased to have him on board. And as I said, it all depends how quickly he can get himself into that position. And hopefully this season we can see him in and around the first team, set up and involved with the first team.
It seemed like from that video that the club had put out from inside your training session, there was a focus on that kind of upping the pace and the accuracy, the same things you talked about with Tom there. Is that something you want to see from the side on match days now, the first team, them moving the ball more quickly, more precisely? Yeah,
I think that's something to what I'd say, yes, absolutely. But also at the same time, Steve, it's improving all areas of the squad, all areas, whatever area you saw and deemed, it's really improving it. Yeah, we worked on in training. Football's about, it's part of the game that he's playing with the ball and how you use that ball and use it most effectively. So those were some of the bits that was discussed this week in training, and this was some of the bits that was not only discussed, but sessions were put on to improve and show that unopposed and certainly opposed. So those are good aspects of the game in terms of the players getting used to some of the certain sessions that we want to put on them, and by doing those sessions and doing them to the best most of their ability, will definitely implement improvement in the squad.
I guess as much as anything, it's trying to find some consistency, isn't it? Because the performances have sort of been one extreme and the other, and anywhere in between the last few games.
Yeah, and it's learning that as well. why the performances have been so excellent in phases and some probably been mediocre. And again, that is time spent together. That is time understanding individuals as us, as a team going forward. But one thing where we're on the same page as is that we're just focused in terms of being the best version of ourselves and getting this football club going forward and going forward and continuing to move forward. Every game we play for Huddersfield, Steve, it's important. And I just want the players to, when they pull that shirt on, they're representing the whole community in the football club of Huddersfield Town and all the people in Huddersfield. So I want them to play with that passion and commitment and that desire and determination, but with an element of enjoyment as well.
Yeah, I suppose that's when you talk about wanting the players to be independent thinkers, part of that will be the creativity and the enjoyment of the game, isn't it?
Correct, and that's the part as well, is that they work extremely hard, and it's almost like the game is an opportunity to showcase that talent and really display it really. So the beautiful thing for me is I get to work with those boys week in, week out, day after day, and all you ever want to do as a manager is for them to express and show their talent when they get the opportunity to do it, whenever the team's asked to play in front of their supporters. And whilst doing it and enjoying it, they're doing it for the commitment and desire of those watching supporters that supporting them through thick and thin. So you really want the players to showcase the ability that you've seen in training. Why not do it on the Saturday? So that's the reason why really that you want to give them and express them and encourage them to do that. And hopefully, like I said, they take it on board because they've certainly got it within to do it.
Sorba said that he we asked him how you describe you, and he said he sees you as a bit of a father figure. Is that how you want the players to see you, or does it sort of vary on a case by case basis? Yeah,
I don't mind the father figure, and the reason why you'd probably say that is because there's a genuine care for them to develop and do well. And I keep saying to them, first and foremost for me, it's the man first before the player. So I can understand where the title would come as a father figure, because there is that, and then we go into the player. And that's always something that I've always adhered to with the players. And there's really important, and the thing as well with me, Steve, there's that consistent communication. Because probably at times through the weeks and that, we probably spend more time together as a group than we probably would be with our families and loved ones.
Are you confident we're going to see a different Huddersfield Town from this weekend?
Yeah, you're always confident. You have to be confident because initially, Steve, you have to start from somewhere and then you continue to work. Football is always about being better and wanting to be better. So when you look at those two, being better and wanting to be better, you want to see improvement. To what level the improvement will be, we know that in football things can take time to implement and see that, but they won't be for the want of trying. But certainly that's one of the aspects that we want to do as a team, as a football club, is be better at what we are, and the only way you do it is the hard work.
We've this weekend the EFL are putting particular attention on the Together Against Racism campaign. Obviously hugely important. We've had some incidents with Jaheim Headley and Janino Bacuna as well, obviously one of his own fans when he played them. It's an ongoing issue in the game, unfortunately, isn't it? Important to draw attention to these things.
Yeah, and the attention will be ongoing. The beautiful thing for this, Steve, is not us as a football club, but in society and as a whole, we're trying to stamp out and eradicate racial abuse at any form. And there's many different forms it can come in. But what we do is we stand all together as one in trying to stamp it out. And the beautiful thing about it is that we can all do, and we are doing something about it, because wherever you may be, it doesn't just have to be on the football pitch. It can be around the stadium, outside the stadium, in your local communities. It can come at any time and rear its head at any time. But you have the power and the ability to stand up for what's right, and that's the beautiful thing about it. So this weekend with the EFL promoting that, not just us at Huddersfield Town, we stand with everybody right across the football fraternity in terms of stamping out and setting the message clearly, which is great to see.
Thanks, Darren.
Thanks, Steve. We'll finally come to Jim Conlon on Zoom. Jim, thanks for your patience.
Darren, I just want to start off talking about one of the previous roles you mentioned early on in your career at West Brom. You were the loans manager, looking after players that went out on loan and monitoring their sort of progress, and in terms of young players and sort of all different players that left the club. And you have a player on your books at the moment who's out on loan, who's in a very experienced guy, who's in bang hot form at the moment, who's loving his football, enjoying his football again with Blackpool. 8 games in, 7 goals. He's on fire at the moment, a hat-trick against Reading at the weekend. I suppose when every manager comes into the club, all different players, no matter if they're out on loan or what, have a clean slate. They have a clean billing under a manager. And are you taking what Jordan Rhodes is doing at Blackpool at the moment? He's really catching fire in terms of League One, or are you just happy or delighted for Jordan really that he's in a really good place now? And are you monitoring that away in the background at the moment, thinking maybe January, maybe see how he goes till then? Or has Jordan expressed his desire that he wants to enjoy this new experience at the moment? Or in the back of your mind, are you thinking to yourself, I need to keep an eye out on this and monitor this fairly closely?
Yeah, I mean, for Jordan, it's excellent that for what I've seen and the goals I've seen score is Jordan. It really is that instinctive to be in that right position, to be the goal he scored last week, what comes off his chest. That's Jordan, because I've had Jordan, I've worked with Jordan, so it's great to see him. Whilst Jordan's at Blackpool, we know he's at Blackpool playing games and he's scoring goals. Great, excellent. Me as a manager, that was something that was done before it arrived at the football club, but we're still monitoring him going forward. I've touched base with Jordan when I first come. He's welcomed me into the football club. The man that he is, he's a special person and he's a special talent. Obviously, putting the ball in the back of the net, which is what he does. So the figures that you quoted me at Blackpool doesn't surprise me. But yes, we are monitoring this situation as a football club because he's our player and there's a genuine care for our players. So long may that continue for Blackpool and Jordan. That two things: A, he's playing match minutes, which is great, and B, he's scoring goals, which is what he wants. So I would imagine life for Jordan is very good at the moment.
Yeah, I suppose, Darren, when you were manager at Sheffield Wednesday, you had sort of situations where you probably had a different type of a pressure and a manager where there was an expectation in terms of promotion, and obviously if that didn't come about, there was sort of pressures on your head. You're facing a manager now that you know all too well from your time in League One, Gareth Ainsworth, who's in charge of the Queen's Park Rangers, who is under savage pressure at the moment, who's going into this game really an awful lot of talking about that he needs to get a result in terms of maintaining his job, that people are looking at QPR, they're saying they should be higher up the table, and people are putting an awful lot of pressure on him this weekend. Does that make this game even more dangerous when a manager's back's against the wall type of mentality, when everyone's sort of gunning for his head if he doesn't get a result? Does that mean that the players are going to come out for Queen's Park Rangers and die on their backs really for Gareth Ainsworth this weekend, even though that you have a home game? Does that even make that home game even harder, given how much pressure Gareth's under?
I think for me, irrespective, the players shouldn't have to feel that whatever's deemed and put in the social media, whether it is or not. I think the players have a duty to play to the best of their ability all the time. So that's number one. In terms of we know Gareth as a manager has had a long career in the game and continues to do so, and he's a good manager because his career has proven that he's a good manager, and being at QPR, he's more than capable of handling the club and the situation there. So I don't envisage anything like that with him. For the players should continue to do what they're doing to the best of their ability, because that's a given. So for us, it's focusing on us as a football club and a team in terms of going forward. And we see the game it's another tough game, but it's a game that we know that every game we come against, they're not easy games, but you prepare as best as you possibly can with a game plan. to go and take the game forward. The beautiful thing for me is that we're at home. It's the next time we get to chance. The league program starts again, and we're focusing on the game in terms of that. I know Gareth personally. He's a good man. He's a good manager. He's got his ways. He's got his methodology, and he's proven that over the course of time. So for me and the boys and the team, we're gonna have to be at our very level best tomorrow to compete and look to try and get those points that are on. But we're looking at us as a football club in a continuation of our journey in terms of where we want to go and making sure that we're showing the best account of ourselves, really.
And I suppose finally for me, Darren, in terms of Huddersfield Town, I suppose it's inevitable. Every manager, when he comes into the new job, sometimes you will face defeat, and it is part of the cycle. No manager ever goes undefeated. In terms of, we all love to do it. We'd all like to have the invincible season that Arsenal had. The Invincibles, dare I say, but that's a 1 in a million opportunity. And I suppose you tasted defeat against Birmingham City the last time around in terms of Huddersfield. Was that almost like? I know it's an awful to lose a game, but as a manager, was that some really good learning points as well in terms of Huddersfield? Because you saw different aspects of your side and your team from the first time, facing a deficit, facing a 3-0 deficit, how they react to it, what players maybe sink their heads, what players maybe still fight to the cause, what players maybe sort of go through the motions as such. In defeats like that, when you come to a new club as a manager and you taste maybe a heavy defeat for the first time, do you learn an awful lot more than winning a game maybe 4 or 5-0?
I think that's fair to say, Jim, in terms of, us professionals in the game always say that the game teaches you nothing when you're winning and probably teach you a lot when you lose. In terms of that, yes, we did. We went to Birmingham. We didn't perform to the levels that we that we wanted to. But I think the big thing was the response that we got back against Sheffield Wednesday. Clean sheet mentality, really. So that was an added bonus in terms of that game, that we nullified. We went away from home again. We nullified the opposition to limited chance on goal because people were doing their jobs and more concentrated and more resolute in our work, being robust with what we did and the demands that we're putting on one another. So that was a clean sheet, because from a clean sheet, Jim, you can always work from that, and you've got the opportunity of scoring a goal and winning the game. We felt we had 2 wonderful, glorious opportunities at Sheffield Wednesday to win the game. One we didn't capitalise on, and the other one we scored the goal, but it got ruled off for an impingement on the goalkeeper. So with that, we felt it was a more solid performance and the right mental attitude from that Birmingham game, from after 2 or 3 days in the week, suffering, that the players were able to switch on and focus on that. So we took that as a positive, really, in terms of going forward. But any manager will tell you, of course, we don't want to lose games, but it's when you lose a game, it's how you respond afterwards. And I thought the players responded that and came out with a clean sheet and just put the record straight. And we looked on it as a positive in terms of Lee Nichols getting his 100th clean sheet for the club and moving on. And he's been able to put the feel-good factor into the week of international break and preparing me for this one as we return back to the league programme.
Darren, best of luck.
Thanks, Jim. Good to see you, mate.
Catherine, Jim, Steve, thank you. We'll see you all Saturday.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you.